Hello everybody, welcome to Catherine Sews. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now you know I love a good jean jacket, and when I go thrifting sometimes I see pieces that just need to be rescued, that I don't think anybody else is going to buy, and they just need to be given a good home and maybe resurrected a little bit. So here's a good jean jacket, right? This looks fine, but just oh dear, what happened back there? So some creative person, and I'm not knocking them, like that, I couldn't paint that, I can't do that. So good on them, nice job. But I don't think anybody else wants a jean jacket with this Gen Z bleeding checkerboard kind of thing. I just don't think anyone else was gonna buy that. It was gonna end up in a landfill or worse. And so it's time for me to rescue it. So it's a pretty good jacket. I love when a denim jacket has the pockets at the side, and it's big, it's an extra large, and I love that. So I'm happy with all of that. It's just this. There's just no place for that in my wardrobe. So it's time to get creative with this one. I have a couple ideas. First of all, in my stash, I've had for years, like I gotta say probably 20 years, this super sweet piece of tapestry with the little angel. That is really cute. It does give me like a 90s vibe because I probably had it since the 90s, but it is really sweet, and I think I could just put that on the back and be done. It's playtime. I'm just gonna play around and see what direction this jacket goes in. So if that sounds good to you, let's get busy with that and see if we can make that work. So it's playtime, but as I'm playing around, I instantly noticed that this angel is too short. And so I'd have to find another fabric. I did serge the edge and then wash it just so it would shrink the seam that the jacket has already been shrunk, but it's too short and leaves me with a dilemma. So that I don't think is going to be my answer today. So then I had to think outside the box and outside my fabric stash. And I found this tote bag that I have had in my collection of tote bags for, I don't know, at least 10 years. And it's from Primark, which I'm not proud of, not my favorite, but I love this, right? I love the graphic on it, and it's on both sides. So that's really cool. And I think it's just long enough, like barely long enough. So I think that might be the way that I go. I think sometimes when you're playing, you really do need to sort of set yourself up to be able to visualize it well. I don't want to just jump in and assume it's going to be good, but let me really, really assess. Well, I think I kind of love that. I don't love that there's so much of this blank canvas down here. That is not my favorite, but I don't think it's a deal breaker. That's a start anyway. So we'll put that aside for a second and get a couple of measurements. So from top to bottom of just kind of inside this frame is 14¼ inches. And then I'll just measure the width at the fullest point. I'm going to call that 10 inches. Okay, so I'm going to cut out a rectangle that's a little bit bigger than about 15¼ by 11. So I've got a little bit more than ½ an inch seam allowance on both sides. I'm just cutting it up now to get it to lay flat so that I can draw my shape on it. Okay. The reason I left that top edge is just to balance it out a bit more so that I've got, you know, if I do have to show some of the white on the bottom, it's a little bit more balanced. 15¼ I'll even do 15½. And my width is 10, but I definitely want at least 11. So ½ an inch off each side. And then with my scrap of soap, I'll just mark down that ½ inch. And the frame, kind of, that I'm setting this in tapers toward the bottom to end up being 9 inches at the bottom. Just double checking before I cut it that where I've marked gives me plenty of width. I'm not being skimpy. I think I'm safe. Okay. So now is when I have to decide about that top edge. Do I keep that or do I get rid of it? I'm leaning towards getting rid of it. Then you see what I mean though? If I get rid of it, I end up with so much extra here. That means a little bit of stitch removal. I'm gonna open this up, even those X's, so that I can use a little bit more of this fabric without having that big hem in my way. Of course, I was hoping to avoid that, but no big deal. So, like usual, I'm gonna do this off camera. I'll go make myself a cup of tea and open up this top hem and be right back. I opened up that whole top hem. So now I want to kind of balance the amount of white I have top and bottom. So let's look at it this way. If I put the bottom edge of the print right at the bottom, then I know that that's the amount of white in total that's going to show. So about half of that will go to the top and half will go to the bottom. So that is giving me about 2 1/4. So I want about 1 1/8. So I want to fold it about there, but this is not exactly a straight line. Like it has a little bit of a curve. So yes, I'm going to cut away the second half of that little hem just to reduce the bulk here a little bit. And then I've got it centered. I think I'm liking that. I like it a lot. So I'm just going to start turning in the edge and making it meet up with the edge of what I'm calling the frame here, the top stitched edge. Now that is a little bit of a curve, but I don't feel any extra bulk in there. That feels just fine. So I don't think I need to trim anything else away. And then at the sides here, I think I will also just go up to the top stitching, I think, even though I'm running the risk of that paint showing. So I'm just turning under the edge, trying to get nice smooth edges, nice pointy corners, and trying to just keep it within that top stitched area. I've got all the pins pointing toward the center. I think that's really nice. Okay, so I'm just going to sew close to the edge. I think I'll use this color thread, like an ecru colored thread, and sew all the way around that edge. Okay, scratch that. I just sort of took some pictures of the back when I was wearing it, and I really did not like those big white lines. So, more playtime. I went in my stash and found this textured faux leather, and I had used this for trim on a moto jacket that I made years ago, and it's been in my stash ever since, and I like the way that's looking with that. So I'm going to move the whole thing up and do sort of a broader piece of the black leather at the bottom. And this is where upcycling takes on a life of its own. You can never make like a totally rigid plan. You got to roll with the punches. So before I trim, I'm just going to make sure I like it. Oh yeah, that is better. I definitely think so. I hope you agree. Okay, let's do it. So now I did not need to do all that seam ripping. And I might take off a bit of the corner, but I don't love running the risk of cutting off too much. So now this one will come in. I think that will look interesting. Hopefully it looks intentional, but at the very least it'll look interesting. So with that sitting straight across there, then I think I can kind of mark where the edges are. Like I can feel the edges. Hopefully that shows. And then just cut a little bit bigger than that. Okay, that's good. So I will go and sew around there with the ecru color thread. Then I think I'll sew this facing up, flip it down, and then just sew around the 3 sides. All right, so let's go to the machine. So I'm starting kind of randomly in the center of the bottom. I don't want that paint to show, so I'm pulling out the edge a little. Make a little snip there because I already did catch the edge. Didn't mean to do that. I'm going to increase my stitch length. That looks a little bit small. I'm up to 3.5 millimeters long. Oh yeah, that looks so nice. Like it looks like it's meant to be. Once you sew it in, that looks so good. Yeah, the red paint is showing a little bit there, but luckily it's right beside the red print. Yes, I'm absolutely loving that. And I'm glad I got rid of the white strip across the top. I think that black leather is going to be good. Okay, so that looks great. I'm really, really happy with that. It looks so cool. And now this bottom edge. Okay, so here's my little piece that I've got my soap marks on. What I think I'll do is start with it going up like that. So I'll stick my pin in one of the lines and bring it into the printed section of the canvas, just like a hair or so, just so I don't have to worry about missing it. So in the line, yep. Good. And I'll just sew from this edge, right? So I'll stick my pin going sideways in line with that edge. And so from there to there. Okay, so I'm going to switch to black thread for that. Okay, so with black thread, I just sewed straight across there, following one of the lines in the leather. Having those lines are definitely helpful. That made it easier. And when I fold that down, you know what? If I see a little bit of white that I don't like, I'm just going to dab that with a Sharpie. A little bit of Sharpie never hurt anybody. So now the bottom edge is going to fold up. So essentially I'm doing the same thing here that I did with the tote bag, right? Just kind of folding my edges in, following the shape of this little framed area. And again, the lines, like the edges are not straight. It's a little bit curved here too. And that feels a bit bulky. I'll trim some of that. Yeah, that feels better. That's the very corner. So I can look in and see what I can still trim away. I don't want to get too close to that corner because I might regret it. Then I just have to sew nice and close to the three sides. I don't need to sew across here. And hopefully that looks reasonably straight. It's not. What to do about that? I think I kind of have to move it up here, which is unfortunate. But I can't move it down here. Oh, dang it. I should have checked it like this before continuing. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay. So now I'm going to be smarter and compare my two sides. And I know I want that line that I'm sewing on to come right to there. Oh, so that's quite a big difference. Wow. Does that look straight? I guess so. Okay. And I'll compare like this to be smarter. Oh, now this one seems too high. Okay, I'll split the difference. Okay, that seems good. Okay, yes, having the lines in the leather like that really is helpful. It's giving me a good guideline. And now those two sides seem to be even. Good. Okay, so now I can turn under that bottom edge. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to sew nice and close to that edge there. Let's go. I definitely want to make good looking corners here. Pretty good, pretty good. That is done and I love it. I could sew across the edge here. It's not required, but I wonder if it would look better and flatter. You know what? I think I will. I'm almost out of bobbin thread though, so I'm going to make a new bobbin because I definitely don't want a back tack in the middle of an important top stitch like that. New bobbin, here we go. So I might just sew in that line. It's not really going to show as stitching, but it'll flatten out that seam a little bit. Yeah, I like that. That looks good. Wow, I did not expect to love this jacket this much. And you know what? I'm just going to leave it as is. I do still have the rest of the bag left, or I could put some on the front yokes, and I might do that one day. Or I might just keep adding different patches, pins, buttons. I don't know where this jacket's going to go, but right now, I know it's going to go out with me today. So I just love how the back turned out. I think I'm going to get lots of comments on this jacket because I think it's really cool. So I hope you enjoyed that one. And I'm so glad I rescued this jacket. And I'm so glad it's part of my wardrobe now. So thank you as always for being along right to the end. If you like this video, go ahead, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. It's always great to have you jump on board. So until next time on Catherine Sews, you take care.